The arrival of our patriarch Jacob to Canaan is thus described. And Yaakov arrived unimpaired, Shalem, at the city of Shechem. The third patriarch had a vision a few verses before and wrestled with an angel. In that struggle, the messenger of God injured Jacob's thigh. We know, therefore, that our forefather arrived at the promised land with his body harmed. Besides which, the text tells us that Jacob has given up much of what he owned in order to reconcile with his brother Esau. Years before, the two of them had fought for the birthright. At the moment of reconciliation, the patriarch gifted to Esau many expensive possessions as a gesture of friendship. Therefore, the patriarch's wealth had been diminished. Nevertheless, in spite of being physically wounded as a result of his fight with the angel, and financially depleted after investing so much in the reconciliation with his brother, the Torah states that Yaakov arrived at the promised land Shalem, unimpaired, complete. How should we understand this? This year, we lost Rabbi Harold Kushner, Zichrono Livracha, author of the bestseller When Bad Things Happen to Good People. Kushner became one of the most important and prominent contemporary rabbis. With his help, we will try to understand together how the patriarch Jacob could be considered shalem, complete, after so many losses. In his book, How Good Do We Have to Be?, Rabbi Harold Kushner retells a story called The Missing Piece by Shel Silverstein. Rabbi Kushner classifies this legend as a fairy tale for adults. There was once a circle with a missing piece. A big triangle had been cut from its border. The circle wished to become whole again, without anything lacking. So he went out on a search for the part that was missing. However, due to his incompleteness, he could only roll the world over very slowly. And because he rolled slowly, he admired the flowers along the way. He chatted with the butterflies. He enjoyed the sunshine. He found a lot of pieces, but none of them fit. Some were too big, others too small. Some were very rounded, others very pointed. And so he left them all along the way and kept on searching. One day, however, he found a piece that fit perfectly. He was very happy. Now he could be whole without anything missing. He put the piece in place and began to roll. Now he was a perfect circle. He could roll very fast. Too fast to notice the flowers. Too fast to talk with the butterflies. When he became aware of how different the world looked, now that he was rolling so fast, he stopped, left on the roadside the piece he had found, and started to roll slowly on, in search of the missing piece. End of the story. In a strange way, as Rabbi Kushner teaches us with this story, we are all the more whole when we are incomplete, when we lack something. He or she who has everything in a certain way is a poor person. He or she who never know what it means to wish for something, what it means to wait or to miss someone. As Harold Kushner sees it, people are complete if they can give from themselves, if they can give their time, their money, their strength to others, and not feel diminished when doing so. A whole person is one who has made peace with his or her limitations, who knows who he or she is and is not, who acknowledges what he or she can and cannot do. Thus, can we understand how our patriarch Yaakov arrived unimpaired at the city of Shechem. His integrity was not in spite of his losses, but precisely because of them. In Jewish theology, it is possible to affirm that the strength of God in the Torah is exactly in the part that God lacks it. And I will explain. Kabbalah introduced the idea of tzimtzum. In the beginning, God occupied the entire space of the universe. To create the world, God diminished God. God contracted God to open space for creation. According to this vision, the birth of the world is a result of the divine exercise of detachment. God becomes smaller, incomplete, limited, to give space for the universe to come into being. When we read the biblical narratives, we find a God who experiments, makes mistakes, repents, and wishes and learns. A being in search of improvement. This God creates a context where human beings can acknowledge their own imperfections. However, under the influence of Greek philosophy, which reached Judaism by way of Maimonides during the Middle Ages, we abandoned the belief in a biblical God who is in the process of amelioration, and embraced instead the idea of the perfect God. A perfect God creates an unbridgeable chasm between us and divinity. When facing a perfect God, our imperfections are always a source of shame and inadequacy. Our efforts, as great as they may be, will always be profane. We live under the illusion that the ideal is to live wholly and completely, to have and to be everything. Worst of all, when God is mistaken for perfection, God becomes the source of all suffering. If God is perfect, then we deserve all evil that befalls us. God is then seen as having a plan for everything, and God becomes responsible for every detail of human existence. The belief in a perfect God, which we inherited from Greek philosophy, forces us to say that the victims of a pandemic, of a tsunami, or of the Shoah, adults or children, received what they deserved, and God is responsible for their being where they were at the moment of horror. Modern thought is moving away from the idea of God's perfection. As Rabbi Alfredo Borodowski teaches, the two pillars of modern Jewish thought, Abraham Joshua Heschel and Mordechai Kaplan, disagreed about almost everything. Heschel believed that God was an empathic being. For Kaplan, God is a force. However, both agreed that God is in search of betterment. Sometimes we need a God who is in control of everything. In these cases, suggests Rabbi Borodowski, go ahead and visit this God, but do not prolong the visit too much. We still have the possibility to reclaim the God who strives for improvement. In order to do so, we will need to let go of that perfect God in whom we learned to believe since childhood. In doing so, instead of living in a state of guilt and failure, we will start to practice a religiosity in which every effort counts and the journey is far more important than the destination. Just as in the story of the circle. After understanding that it was more whole without that piece it had found on the roadside, the circle discarded the part to continue its search, its quest. On this Yom Kippur, in which we pray Iskor, may we too be capable of seeing how complete we are, precisely because of what we lack. May we know how to accept ourselves with our limitations and see in the acceptance of imperfection our own and the world's, the key to living shlemim, holy. While reviewing my drafts for this sermon, Lisa Cohen brought to my attention a lyric from the songwriter Leonard Cohen that makes a perfect epilogue for this sermon. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. May we be sealed in the book of the imperfect search. Gmar Chatima Tova and Shana Tova. Now we prepare for Hineni, an introduction to the Amidah of Yom Kippur. We create community through a sense of common ancestry. A convert to Judaism is traditionally called the child of Abram and Sarah. All of us who call ourselves Jews take on a common past. In affirming that past, we are asked to take on the mythic qualities of the lives of these ancestors, to journey in the life of faith, to experience our lives as a calling, to engage in the struggle for justice and compassion in the world about us. Abram and Sarah were promised that their children would not be lonely practitioners of faith, but would find a community of people who acknowledged this heritage. And we, in joining in a moment of common prayer of the Amidah, in reciting their names, and in acknowledging them, begin to fulfill that promise. As Chazan starts advancing from the back to the front, please rise row by row on her pace.
יושב תהילות ישראל, באתי לעמוד ולהתחנן לפניך על עמך ישראל אשר שלחוני. אף על פי שאיני חטאי והגונה לכך, לכן אבקש ממך, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק, ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל, אלוהי לאה, אדוני, אדוני, אל רחומך אדון, אלוהי ישראל. Shaddai, Hayom Menorah, Hayana Matzliach Darki, Asher Ani Holechet, Lamod L'Vakesh Rachamim Alai. Ve'al sholechai ve'na'at Hashem b'chatotai b'chaitanei b'avonotai ki chotet v'shat ani ve'al yikalamu b'yivshai ve'al yevoshu bi ve'al yevosha bahem v'kabel tfilati ki tfilat regila v'kola na'im u'virka na'eh u'moreh ve'bitat imaberiot v'tigar v'satan levayasineni v'hina dilukinu lehaviava v'yakol p'shayim techaseb yava v'chol tzarot v'ra'ot hafach lanu lechol Yisrael l'sason u'simcha l'chayim l'shalom ha'emet v'hashalom ehavu ve'lo yishu mikshol b'tefilati yiratzon milchanecha Adonai Elohei Abraham Yitzchak Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel veLeah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Hanora El Elyon Eyesher Yesh Etavo Tefilati Lifnei Chisei Chevotecha Ba'avur Kol Tzadikim V'Hasidim Hatmimim V'Ayesharim V'Avur Kavod Shimecha Hagadol V'Hanora Ki Ata Shomeya Tfilat Amecha Yisrael Zera